outside because it's a quarter of a mile just straight out.
We just wanted to get the. I'm going to be coming back with some of which time we'll do a lot of touring, but I just wanted them to.
So this is, a weird part of history. This is, I call it the first Florida-Georgia game, because this was all part of Florida at one time. In fact, Spanish Florida used to be Canada on the lower 48. People don't realize that. And then the Spanish broke it down into places like California and Louisiana, and then Florida becomes Eastern Seaboard. But they don't do a lot with it. They kind of allow the British to kind of come over. The British are coming here to get land. The Spanish aren't here for land. They're for resources and then to make the native population there. So the British are always going to kind of win out here, but this is the cusp of it, the last struggle between the Spanish and the British. Let's see what this is going to be. So this was still Spanish Florida. Oglethorpe comes over here to try to create Georgia. Okay. And he does have a fight in 1742 where the last gasp where the Spanish and the British are kind of fighting it out. But I'm going to tell you right now, the Battle of Bloody Marsh is a myth. Most American history is a myth. It was created in the Victorian period by white dudes sipping absinthe in their armchairs at their old boy club, walking, just enhancing the war stories, romanticizing everything, and whitewashing history.
So Bloody March didn't happen?
It happened, but it wasn't even called Bloody March originally. It was called the Battle of the Grenadiers. And the Governor Montiano of Florida reports he lost 7 guys. 7 grenadiers at that battle. The first battle was the Battle of Billy Hole Creek, and there were 12 guys killed. This whole idea of Bloody Marsh comes in the Victorian period by a Highlander descendant in Darien and glorifying stuff. Because 2 years before this, there was a battle of Bloody Mose, and that's a real battle. It was a free black fort in St. Augustine, about a mile north of the Big Four. We excavated in 1985. We got a great book on it over there. It was a wonderful read. And because the Spanish did slavery completely different. In fact, they had 2 white slaves in St. Augustine. It wasn't a black-white thing. It was very complicated. So there was a free black fort in a village made up of slaves who escaped from the Carolinas and came down for sanctuary by the Spanish. As long as you became Catholic and swore to fight by the Spanish side, they would free you and let you have that. It was a way of bolstering their ranks. And when Oglethorpe goes down to attack St. Augustine, he has to take out that fort, but then they take it back, and there's a Bloody Mose. 2 years later, the Battle of Bloody Marsh, well, the Redcoats turn and run away. The people who hold the line are the Highlanders, and they're holding the line because they want vengeance on the people they lost at Bloody Mose. And so my theory is, in the Victorian period, in the 19th century, the word Bloody Marsh all of a sudden comes to be. It never existed before it, and it's done by a descendant of the Highlanders who's probably growing up in the middle of nowhere, Darien's kind of middle of nowhere, hearing all these different war stories, Galley Hole Creek, the Battle of the Grenadiers, the Battle of Bloody Mose, and somehow I think he conflates it, and he's the one who creates the whole legend of Bloody Marsh, where thousands die in the water. Never happened. When you go to the actual records, and that's the thing about real history versus textbook and myth history. Myth history is easy. It's simplified. It's easy. It's not real. Most history is so much more complicated.
Well, why then is it commercialized? I mean, like, if you go to Bloody Marsh, you got the big signs out there, and then there are people that say that at
the
one
local,
point,
and that's not even where it happened. And we tried to refuse that property back when the locals bought it and said, we want you to have Bloody Marsh here, because Colonial Danes had put a marker out there in 1903. And we like, there's no way. If you look at the records, there's no way the battle happened there at all. The battle probably happened somewhere here. We have Bloody Marsh, but it's called a memorial for a reason. We have things in the Park Service called national memorials, like DeSoto National Memorial. I worked there. Nothing happened there. We don't know where DeSoto landed, but it's a story that needs to be told, and so politics happened. We accepted it. It's a commemorative site, but it's not where it happened. So don't worry about going to Bloody Marsh. Nothing happened there. In fact, the locals, historians, thought Fredrica Road, the road we drove up here, was original military road, and it's not. So all those historical markers, not in the right place. See, that's what I do. I'm a history myth buster. Just to show you how bad our history books are, okay, Valley Forge. What does everyone think happened there? People froze and starved to death, right? Nope. Not one person froze or starved to death. It was cold the first 2 weeks, but they were there for 6 months. You read the diaries of the soldiers and say, I've never eaten so well in my life. I'm having pork eggs the next day. They complain about the 100-degree weather. But the next winter encampment at Morristown, New Jersey, they did freeze and starve to death. So imagine the Rangers who worked there, their frustration because their story was co-opted in the 19th century by these Victorian scholars and created a Valley Forge. And that's not why Valley Forge is important. So that's just an example. I can give you many more because I'm a history geek and don't get me started. But yeah, real history is so much more complicated, so much more interesting, but you have to dig into it, you know, and we don't have all the answers. But unfortunately, a lot of these myths from the Victorian period made it into our early textbooks, and you know how hard it is to change a textbook after that point. So, and that's what sticks with people, you know, the simplicity, the myth, the blah, blah, blah. So that's my job as a ranger. I try to break that up. So if you come on my tour, you're going to hear a lot of stuff about the Spanish. The Spanish history isn't talked about much, and there's a lot of stuff that happened before the English even got over here, and so I like to talk about that too. But Fort Mose was impressed on me because I was in high school when they were excavating that. I lived in St. Augustine, and we were excited to find it. And the book there is very good. It talks about the Spanish history of slavery and how it evolved. You want to hear about white slaves? There were 2 white pirates, English pirates, who were caught in St. Augustine, and it's an instant death sentence, right? So the Spanish go to execute these guys, and the Spanish method of execution was to garrote you, kind of like the mafia do, and put you on wire. Well, everyone gathers, they're watching the execution, the wire breaks. Franciscan monks see this as a sign of God that these guys' lives need to be spared, and they grab them and they throw them into the church. And now we have a whole discussion in St. Augustine between church and state what to do with these guys. They still want to execute them, these guys want to save them. And so the compromise was that they were slaves of the state, and they were forced to help build the wall around St. Augustine and the outer defenses and stuff like that. So St. Augustine, the Spanish, it was a fluid situation. It was more of a religious, hostage-taking thing. And slaves, some slaves died wealthier than their masters. It was just a weird, complicated thing, and I can't explain it all because it's very complicated. But anyway. But if you come here, we try to show the movie on the hour-and-a-half hour list. We have special school groups coming through, and then we try to do tours depending on staffing and school groups and whatever's happening at that day. Now, if you guys are here March 23rd, we're doing one of our biggest events of the year. It's a living history event, so the Spanish group out of St. Augustine will bring their cannon up. We'll have our cannon. We'll do musket firing, cannon fire. We have Sawgrass, who does great Native American interpretation. We'll have all kinds of stations out there, candle making, crafts. I'll be talking about historic dyeing methods and stuff because I'm a total geek. Yeah, so we got that happening as well if you're around. So, and just,
you know. Did you say dyeing methods?
Yes, to dye clothes.
Oh,
so I have acquired, because I'm like a school teacher, because government funds can't buy things from eBay and Etsy, so I bought stuff with my money just to do. So I talk about where the colors come from, what product they come from. I have indigo and woad and cochineal beetle. And I explain also in British society, colors meant something. Only certain people were allowed to wear certain colors. Like black was usually reserved for preachers and judges, just like it kind of is today, and governors. But it was expensive color. The darker the color, like that, super expensive. You had to use iron salt and a lot of it to make it happen. The red, the darkest red you get, is from a beetle this big from South America. The Spanish, that was one of their big imports. Gold and silver were okay, but the 2 other big imports were exports for chocolate and the beetle. They still use beetle today. It's in your makeup, in your food coloring, in volume beetle juice. But it's a natural dye. And it makes them brilliant. But think how many beetles it would take to make a yard of cloth. I mean, stuff like that. So, yeah, I do a whole thing like that. So that's my station I talk about.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this in mind so that we can pass it on, and then the students, they're going to might want to do something, you know, break other students.
And always check out our Facebook page because we have well, that's not here, but it is something you might be interested in. It is happening. Oh, yeah. So the Harrington School, which we partner with them. Usually in February, we see the shutdown happen, so it didn't happen this year. Our other big event in the spring is our February event. Oh, I only have the one copy, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's this weekend. So go ahead and take it if you want. It's a Saturday, so get it out of here and put it up. But the Gullah Geechee Heritage Corridor comes through here, and on February we have the Abbott Monument. He was the guy who created the Chicago Defender and helped with the Black Diaspora. That sculpture is done by a local guy. I know
his family. Right. They live right up the street.
Well, we work with their family, and we do a big Abbott / Gullah Geechee festival in February. But this year with the shutdown, it all exploded. But usually what we've been doing is partnering with the school. They're probably partnering next year with the African American Church. We rent a trolley, they come here, we have speakers, we have the Geechee Gullah ring shouters. They're our local guys who are descendants here. They do this wonderful ring shout thing. I have to get the friends and family right now. They cost a lot. They have been international, they have played for the Vatican, but they're our guys. So we get them here, they do a thing, we have the trolley go to these different sites with the Harrington School, because we want to promote them. You know, they still need some more restoration work, they need more money. So anyway, so that's kind of it, and you can always look at the Facebook page, you know, to see what the upcoming events are and stuff like that.
Well, I thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
I know, it was kind of a scattered shot, but you know, it's hard
Thank you so much.
to complicate things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Have fun, okay?